Oops. Hey, everybody. Oh, hello? Yeah, hey, everybody. Welcome to Attempts at Governance, episode 228. And we have a great show for you today. A lot of special guests. We're going to get into the whole core time debate and conversation, a way of moving forward. We also have an update on stablecoins in the treasury. But first, I wanted to let you all know some very exciting news. Tomorrow on El Cus, that's our Spanish version of the Cus, we are proud to host the very first AAG on Espanol. You're going to catch it at 5 o'clock p.m. UTC, which is what, 1 o'clock? What is that? No, that's 1 o'clock Eastern time. No. Wait, 5 p.m. is 1 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, 2 o'clock if you're in Buenos Aires. It's going to be a great show. It's hosted by Rocco from Dotcast, and we really hope if you're a Spanish speaker or if you're trying to learn Spanish, a great opportunity as well, that you stop by the show and check it out. Lorena, are you going to be at the show?
Yes, of course, I will attend. So I will be there.
You're going to be there. All right, good stuff. Very interested to see what the Spanish folks come out with, and it's definitely going to be a new dynamic in governance to have an open forum like this happening in another language. Good luck, DVs. Now you just have to convince people across multiple languages. No big deal. We're going to start with the state of the Treasury, which is looking pretty well. We're a little bit confused, honestly. At least I am, because remember last week how we suddenly lost all this DOT? We were down like 6 million DOT or something like that. Well, it just gets more and more confusing because this week we're up 8.11 million DOT, bringing the DOT stack across all the treasuries, bounties, and everything to 31.46 million. Not sure what's going on here. We think it's some dashboard errors, but this is really a lot more like the DOT stack that we're used to. So we're going to call this the truth until someone validates that or comes up with a different idea. USDC is up 390,000 to 2.44 million. USDT up 120,000 to 4.76 million. And we did have Allison Bob in the DMs earlier this week, looking for a little time at the top of the show to talk about stablecoins. I think he's done some calculations. You may have seen some chat on X about the stablecoin treasuries. I think right now, all of the refs that are up right now would, if they all passed, they would drain the treasuries, or I think it's more than we have access to. Anyway, Tommy's done a little bit of math here. He's going to share it with us right now. Tommy.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm doing my quarterly treasury report, and every time I'm trying to innovate. This time, I intentionally did not want to innovate. I just wanted to consolidate and basically streamline my flow. But when the opportunity is there to figure out, like, follow a question, figure out something new, do a little bit of data analysis, I cannot resist. And so I actually managed to get together, first of all, a historic chart of the stablecoin flows, and then also a projection from everything the Treasury has accepted to pay in the future, and then also a projection if we would be accepting the current proposals and where we're going.
Cool.
So we're going to start with the historic stablecoin flows. This is going to be part of the Treasury report. So we have blue. The blue line is the USDC balance, and then the green line is the USDT balance. And so we see that USDC at some points was more popular. And it's basically this the zero line, and it's accumulating, and then when people request a lot, it's dropping. And then at the end of March, it went down to like $6,000. And in the next chart, you're going to see it's going up again. So there is right now there's plenty, and with the new proposal that was accepted, there's also plenty right now. And then USDT was up we were up at like 6-7 million at some point, and are at 5 million right now. And historically, we spent like roughly $27 million in stablecoins so far. Okay, a little bit of a projection. This line is going up until more proposals are coming in that bring it down again. But basically, this is from, I think, 2 days ago, so it's not from today. But yeah, USDT quite a bit more than USDC. And then we have these, they are not so visible, but then we have smaller lines where basically already taking in the ongoing proposals and basically seeing by the approval rate, trying to estimate how much we would be spending if the current proposals would be spent. So the colors are a little bit bad, I'm sorry for that. But for example, here we see USDT. USDT is more in demand right now. So my suggestion is if anyone is gonna request stablecoins for the moment, at least for the next month or so, I would suggest to go for USDC. And then maybe one last thing, like from the current inflows we see in stable coins, we have like at the moment we have like I think I have a USDC error. At the moment we have like $1.4 million in USDC. Yeah, $1.4 million in USDC and $1.4 million in USDT flowing in per month. So the stablecoin budget right now is like about $2.8 million per month. Yeah, if you want to see more, you can go to opengov.watch/monitoring, and this is the thing that lives in the cloud and it updates, and you see all the referenda from OpenGov being updated, and also this projection is updated every hour with all the proposals coming.
Great.
Yeah, that's for me.
All right, thanks a lot, Tommy. And those those income projections for the stable coins, I think that goes up with the price of DOT as well, because we're selling a fixed amount of DOT. If that DOT becomes more valuable, then that's more income as well. Great. Tommy, thank you very much for that. It helps a lot. We're now going to throw it over to Funky for the State of the Funk.
Thanks so much, Jay. The state of the funk is driven. You gave me the idea after referencing my being driven around in Dubai in the back of the seat of the Uber. But more importantly, I was driven to yap my face off, and I got all the way to de facto second on the chart. And I'm also driven to bring bigger accounts who are not familiar with Polkadot into the conversation. I've been having conversations with friends who have large accounts, large followings outside the eco. I think it's critical that we get them involved, get them yapping. Just like ICO Beast had a number, he's really had an impact on bringing some stable coins into hydration. So we're going to continue to do that. I'd rather get less DOT and get more people in here, bring more new users to the ecosystem, and get them to meet all of my wonderful friends throughout the Polkadot ecosystem. So I do have to get into this side event. I'm going to be meeting fellow ecosystem agent Mark Kachia in a minute, and some other people at the Beamable event. But thanks for having me on, and I'm sorry I can't be here to run the timer tonight, but I'll be back in action next week in my normal time zone. It's 7:30 at night here. So thanks, Jay.
Good. Thanks for stopping by, Funky. Always nice to see you. We'll now throw it over to Limo for a look at refs gone by this week.
Thank you very much. And it's beers on Funky next time I see him, it seems like. So there's only 4 refs gone by. The first one is by Basti. This one had all the people on Twitter talking. This is the whitelisted collar. Ref 1536. This was approved, and this assigns a core to Excavate and Mythical. Then we have one by Clara from the Snowbridge team on the whitelisted caller track ref 1528. This was approved, and this is runtime upgrade version 1.4.3 for Polkadot Bridge Hub, getting ready for the Electra fork of Ethereum. Then we've got PokerWorld on the medium spinner track ref 1522. This was approved, and this is for 266,000 USDT for PokerWorld ops and maintenance.
Nice.
And finally, he's just left us. He'd left us before we got to speak about him. Funky on the Big Tipper track.
Ooh.
Notorious grifter Funky, ref 1537. This was approved, and this is a total of a 500 dot tip split between Funky and James Slusher, who normally is on the show as well, for their work in Tallahassee with lawmakers. And that's all refs gone by.
Thank you very much, Lee. Now, you did mention Ref 1536 here, assigning core time to Excavate and Mythical. Bit of an emergency situation. Of course, viewers of the show are well familiar that all the available cores were bought up by the core time Baron, who could have sold cores at a reasonable price, but instead went for a big win and was asking $150,000 a core. The response, well, we had Basti here increase the supply side and drop a couple free cores to both of these parachains. Obviously, Mythical, very important to get this through as they're dropping their FIFA game this month in select markets, and they're going with a full launch in June. Definitely need some core time for that. But we're very lucky to be joined by Jonas, friend of the show. He's been on Space Monkeys before. Very, very happy to have him back here. And 2 years ago, you were calling for some adjustments to this core time market. Doesn't look like they made it to the final implementation, and well, we had to pay for it with this chaos this past week. Thank you very much for being here. Maybe you could give us a quick rundown of maybe help us see what the existing core time market looks like as it is today, and then we'll talk a little bit about some options for moving forward.
Yeah. Hi guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues that we have with core time right now is that we wanted to protect renewals a little bit too much from the market itself. It was kind of well intended because it is very important that existing parachains keep their core once they have it, because going offline even for a day is kind of like would be very bad. So originally, there was a lot of emphasis on making the price very predictable in the future. And I think one of the problems that we have now is that we saw some longer period where the price was declining a lot, which makes this kind of like buying up all the cores and then sitting on them on a very low price became too profitable. And this brought us the situation here. And around 2 years ago, like even before everything was even remotely implemented, I was proposing, I think in RFC 15, that we tie the renewal price much more closely to some market price. That would eventually make this attack more costly and would, like have somebody that captures all the core need to have sufficient capital to protect them. Whereas right now, the renewal price would go up so insignificantly that it's very cheap to just occupy them all.
Okay, right. So that makes a lot of sense. So we were really worried about protecting people who had cores to make sure they had a predictable price. We didn't quite factor in the possibility that someone could just sit on all the cores to sell them back to the market.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problem is that it's too cheap to do so because I think the anticipation was that the core time would be a little bit more pricey. And then, of course, buying up all the cores and sitting on them would be much more costly. But I think, since there's a lot of teams that still have core time from the parachain auctions, there was, some period where the price was just declining a lot. In my RFC, I wanted to expose the renewal price much more to the market. But I want to emphasize that I still have some safeguards that existing parachains won't lose their core if they can pay actually a market price. So I think it's still very important that we kind of give guarantees to existing parachains that they can count on the fact that they will have a core in the future. But they need to, protect themselves much more against market forces, which is only fair, right? We want that cores are properly priced, and if projects are useful, they should have no problem to actually pay the market price.
Okay, I want to get more into what we do going forward here, but you said something interesting there about the demand. You mentioned that maybe demand was low partially because so many projects were still holding on to core time from the auction model. Those were 2-year leases, so that's very true. Are there any other elements of the way this market was made that possibly led to this abundance of core time and maybe much more than the demand required?
I'm actually not quite sure. I didn't follow too much the release of the new cores, so I can't say much about that. But apparently, in some way or form, the demand was definitely lower than the supply, so that the price could actually decrease for quite some time. And I think that's also fine, right? I think if there's like less demand than supply, the whole idea is to decrease the price to actually attract more people to come in again.
So I see on this RFC 17, now there's a lot, you posted it 2 years ago. Suddenly there's a lot more comments and action here. We have a few people involved. Let me just get out of the way here. Jacob's commenting here. Alistair's commenting here. Ollie's commenting. Basti's in. Brian Chen is in. What's the way forward here? Who are the main players, and how do we get to a better market where this isn't so much a problem in the future?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I was like mostly focused on getting the mechanism right and thinking a lot about edge cases and thinking a lot about trade-offs. Because as I said, that we want to somewhat guarantee projects to stay in and give them at least some upper bound of what they can expect the price to be.
Yeah.
This is somewhat a market intervention, so there's always trade-offs because otherwise we would maybe just run a candle auction every month, and if you didn't make it in, you lose your core no matter what. And I think this is not a good solution for the Polkadot ecosystem itself. So we have to evaluate some trade-offs here. And I think the way that I design it gives us, reasonable room for increasing the price if there's more demand than supply, but still protecting parachain teams to, again, like some wealthy attacker that could just drive up the prices to actually, price out renewers too easily.
Can you tell us a little bit about that mechanism?
So the whole idea is basically that we have, so right now the renewal phase is before the candle or before a market. And I want to turn it around where we have some market mechanisms, a Dutch auction, where all of the cores are basically being sold off. And we also have a mechanism that nudges current teams to participate even in that auction. And then we basically calculate a clearing price, which is the price that would sell out all the cores. And only then we have the renewal phase. And the benefit of this is that we know we have a market price, and then we can tie the renewal price to that market price. And for quite some time, I wanted to give a small discount to existing parachain teams for the renewal. But thinking about this also with Alistair, there came up the idea that we want, in a situation where you have a lot of renewals and not a lot of people that wanting to come in, you have the problem that not many people in the auction might be a problem. So what we do now is we want to give a slight penalty if you renew on the renewal price, which actually nudges teams to participate in the auction too. But this penalty is super small right now, so I think we set it at 10%. So if you don't care about 10% more costs, you just lean back and pay whatever comes out of the auction.
Okay.
Or it would be nice if if there's a lot of action in the auction, because that makes finding a price more easy.
Awesome. Okay, Limo, did you have something to add here?
Hey, yeah. So first of all, I agree with the renewals being subject to the market price. It's one of the things that I recommended. So I have like 2 questions. So how do you know how many chains are going to renew in this new mechanism? So you said, for example, the market phase is done before renewals, but let's say there's like 50 chains renewing last month. Does that mean that 50 cars are reserved for this next renewal phase? Then what happens if they don't renew? Do the cars that weren't renewed go back on the market again? Because obviously Polkadot ideally wants to sell all the cars, right? So that's the first question. And then second question is, why wasn't this RFC like handled over a year ago when it was identified as being a problem?
Okay, so let me first answer the first question. That's actually a very good question. And actually, we don't have a problem in that sense because we calculate a clearing price and we sell out all the cores. So that means that we sell out all the cores in the market phase, and then the teams can decide to renew. And if they decide to renew, we would kick out the lowest bidder above the clearing price in the auction. And that is kind of a necessary evil because we really want to give protection to the teams. But ideally, all the parachain teams would also participate in the auction, and we won't actually get any renewers because they don't want to pay the penalty. But even in that case, we would always sell out all the cores that have been sold. Either somebody in the market would get the core or the renewer would the core. What would definitely not happen is that people would bid for a core and at the end nobody uses it. This won't happen, right? So we always like utilize the cores. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm trying to like frame my response. So there's like the clearing price, and then you said whoever bids the lowest during that phase, if there's renewals, they get bumped down. What happens if, so let's say like a sufficiently capitalized actor like just bids a shit ton of money, right, on all of them. Then if people renew, what is that renewal cost? So let's say, like for argument's sake, someone bids 100,000 dot on every car, right? What is then the renewal price? Is the renewal price 100,000 dot?
Yeah, so I think what's important, and I think the problem is that like this mechanism is a little bit more complicated than what I was talking about. But what happens is we have a reserve price in the auction, and that is the minimum price a core will cost. And this reserve price, we increase that by some premium, let's say by 200%. We like double it, right? Or and that is the maximum the core can cost within that period. So it cannot be that an attacker comes and bids like a whole lot for the cores and actually increases the price for the renewers that much. So there's a little bit of like price certainty within a round. After a round finishes, we calculate the consumption of cores. So let's say 100% of cores were sold, and we have a target consumption of 90%. So then we scale the reserve price in the next round upwards. So the reserve price somewhat moves the price up and down over the periods. And within a period, the price can be the maximum 2 times the amount of the reserve price. So in your example, let's say somebody came in and just bought all the cores for 2 times the price, the maximum. That would mean that the renewers would pay exactly that price, 2 times the renewer price, the reserve price, plus some 10% premium, which is the penalty. And actually, the attacker wouldn't get any core. But what would happen is that next round, the reserve price scales up because apparently the system understands that there's a lot of demand there. And over time, the reserve price scales up and up and up. And at some point, the lowest 10% of the parachain teams wouldn't be able to renew. And then, whoever then gets the core on the market would be able to secure a new core.
This reserve price, is it different than the clearing price you spoke about?
Yes, the clearing price is a price between the reserve price and this maximum price. And a reserve price is basically calculated in the way that it, as the name says, it clears the market. It would sell all the cores for that price, or we reach the reserve price. What's also important is that everybody pays the clearing price. So even if you come in and bid like the maximum amount of that is possible, but there's nobody actually that wants to have a core, then the price would tick down, and the clearing price would actually be the reserve price. And even though that you bid like a lot of dots, but there's no demand, so you pay the reserve price. And this is actually a nice mechanism, which makes it which kind of leads to truthful bidding, because you don't have an incentive to try to bid as low as possible, because you can just bid whatever you want. You want the core really to have for, but if there's less demand, you pay less for it.
Cool. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I've had fairly lengthy conversations with Jonas on this. I think people have to be prepared. Like, there's a lot of people who are a bit worried about prices going up too much and it not being secured. But I mean, you've still got premium caps there. And as I said, you have to bear in mind that if eventually there's going to be enough demand for these cores, then the projects need to actually have some sort of sustainable method of paying for these things, right? They can't be free forever, otherwise what's the point? So I think those have been addressed quite well. There will be a need probably when this goes live to pay some mind to what that initial reserve price is, because with this sort of 200%, let's say, cap, it could take a long time to actually, because at the minute they're like free, right?
So actually that's a very good point that you're raising here. This mechanism is so when it does, like the reserve price is also slashed by a lot if there's less demand than the target consumption, right? But for now, I initiated like a minimum price of 1 DOT for a core. And that would actually mean that recovering from this price would take a long time. And this is somewhat an edge case. Like if we reach like a situation where a core costs 1 DOT and then suddenly we have 100% consumption, it would take quite a while for the price to recover. So what I did is like I have a minimum increment of 100 DOT for the core price. And that like basically lifts us through this situation where we actually can't recover from these low prices. So let's say there's 1 DOT, the minimum price, and then suddenly we have 100% consumption. Somebody buys all the cores, or like, you know, like market plus renewers equals 100% of the cores. Then the price in the next round would already be 101 DOT. And this minimum increment is, you know, it's a variable, we can set it. But I would say that if there's 100% consumption, like a core for 100 DOT is not too unreasonable. And that makes us be able to recover ourselves from periods of low prices.
Okay, we should wrap up this conversation, but it's been very, very fruitful. Thank you so much, Jonas. But
You're welcome.
maybe a small word on moving forward, who the key players are, what the process might look like, and the time frame could be helpful for us.
Yeah, so in that sense, I also need to figure out who's the best person to talk to. Essentially, I just created the RFC and talked with a lot of people about how to make the mechanism robust and workable. And I think it feels to me that at this stage, it's rather polished. And the next step would be to talk to the right people to actually have this implemented. I mean, at the end, it's an RFC. It's a suggestion made by me, basically also as a community member. And I guess at some point, the technical fellowship needs to approve it. And yeah, checks or like decides whether they want to implement something like this or something else.
Gotcha. Final word, Ben?
Sorry, really quickly, just two very quick things. One, we will obviously, this is the market mechanism that we're talking about here. We also need to factor in demand side drivers, right? So at the moment we had spare cores with A, nobody knowingly coming in and building, and B, nobody who is already here and building, no reason to hold additional cores, right? So we can't utilize them at the moment without elastic scaling. So we need to factor in things like what is going to drive demand, and also if you consider things like money markets like Aave, Maker and things like that, they always have economic councils and the like to sort of have some sort of sway on these or to manage these things. At the moment, it's kind of just yeeted by the fellowship, like, oh yeah, let's add another X number of cores. Like on Kusama, obviously we're just pushing it as hard as we can, like, yeah, all the cores, why not? Polkadot, obviously won't want to do that. We might actually want to have a professional body in place that can factor in, like, okay, we know we've got XYZ projects coming, so there's going to be an increased demand. Let's make sure we release some additional cores. Just if we've got this mechanism that's kind of sensitive to this Goldilocks zone, we might want to make sure that we're somewhat managing that supply based on actual science rather than just, yeah, add another core.
Good point. I think you brought up something that Gav was talking about on the Open Dev call a few months ago, and this is making the cores more useful, making the cores more desirable, more consumable, making it just make more sense to have more cores. And this is definitely being worked on as well. It's a good point. Okay, Jonas, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate your wisdom here, and also your work to set this right. I did want to... Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so it would be nice if people checked out the RFC. I mean, there's a lot of details that, I just didn't have the time to talk about. And, I also created some like simulator where you can basically just like put in the number of cores that you imagine, and then you can pretend what happens if there's like more consumptions, less consumptions, also over time. And then with the different parameters, you can basically see where the price is going. And I think it's important to also fine-tune the parameters a little bit. And yeah, like make some reasonable expectation about what can happen. But I think the main thing that this mechanism offers is that the market eventually scales to the demand, both downwards and upwards. And I think that is the most important factor here. And we still give some priority to teams that are already that already have core time, which I think is also very important.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And just as a final note, we did get this post from Enter the Mythos, and they wanted to thank the Polkadot community for making this happen. And they also made a symbolic donation of 200 DOT to the Polkadot treasury, 200 times more than the last core they paid for, but definitely a very nice thing to do. And keeping this partnership strong between the Polkadot treasury and this important rollup is great. We also had a thank you from Excavate as well, but we'll put a pin in that for now. Jonas, thank you very much again for coming on.
Thanks. Welcome.
And we'll now roll forward into our presentations of the week, starting with, I just wish I could say the biggest DOT request ever. Just a bit shy. This is the Polkadot Giga Hydration campaign, 5 million DOT for a 12-month incentive campaign for, just the best DeFi stack we have in the rollups, in the cloud. This is a leading rollup, and here they are looking for those big incentives, something that will help us compete with other ecosystems. Ben, welcome to the show. What do you want to tell us?
Giga morning, everybody. I've not prepared slides, okay, because I genuinely hate it when people prepare slides, so I'm not going to do that to you all. So I'm going to talk through what it is that we've requested and why, what the focuses are, and then open it up for some questions, which I'm sure there are many. So essentially, we are requesting 5 million DOT to deploy as incentives into 3 main pillars over the course of 12 months. So those pillars are stablecoins, liquidity provision, LPing, and Giga. So each of those and why. Stablecoins, obviously, this is a huge growth area, right? The original Polkadot hydration campaign, this was sort of a key focus of ours. We wanted to make sure that we bring some native stablecoins to the ecosystem. We kicked that off with our own protocol and liquidity purchasing a few million DAI worth of USDT and USDC, seeding that original pool, and then obviously the rewards have since then brought in considerably more. Why is this important? Well, essentially, in order to make these useful, we need lots of on and off ramp integrations with centralized exchanges and other on and off ramp providers. And prior to the campaign, many were not interested, okay? Because ultimately they don't want to spend time and money on a dying ecosystem in their mind, right? So you need to generate some sort of volume and traction and TVL before a lot of them will pay attention. And off the back of that, we have started to see integrations with some centralized exchanges and on and off ramps, and you've seen those over the previous months. Stablecoins obviously are not something that are going away. In fact, with the latest US administration, they're gaining considerable traction, right? There's some huge crazy draft bill at the moment, all legislation rules with for stablecoins that are getting serious attention at all levels of government. There's huge demand for these things on networks like Tron in places like Latin America, where some currencies are super unstable and everybody just wants dollar without having to pay crazy remittance charges. So stablecoins, obviously very, very important. And so we're requesting that 2 million of those DOT would be allocated to this specific vertical. Stablecoins that you could see, obviously at the moment, the number one killer is USDT and USDC farm. That's actually getting a bit of attention from outside the ecosystem at the moment. You might have seen I made a little demo video of how external people can come and join that this week, because we're getting a lot of questions about how they can come and farm this because the rates are better than some other ecosystems. There's also a lot of queries for getting Euro stablecoins, so we could also use them for those, as well as our upcoming decentralized stablecoin Holla. We could incentivize that with that bucket. The second bucket is liquidity provision. So we propose 2 million DOT for this. In the first campaign, Polkadot hydration campaign, we had 1 million DOT overall. All of that went onto liquidity provision across stablecoins and LPing. So this will fundamentally obviously focus on ecosystem assets, as we have thus far allowed people who are holding ecosystem tokens to put them to use in some way or form and generate a bit of excitement around that. But where we would like to push a bit more focus would be on things like TBTC, native ETH through Snowbridge, and some other high volume majors through Snowbridge. Because we've got a trustless like client bridge, essentially hydration Polkadot could become a home for trading these super high volume assets. So we'd like to drive a lot of demand towards those. And then finally, 1 million DOT for Giga. Everybody should be aware of the Giga launch that took place a couple of weeks ago. Hugely successful initial launch, even with very limited incentivization. But if you look at other ecosystems in terms of how much of their supply is liquid staked, it's considerably higher than Polkadot's is. So we'd like to help drive demand for LSTs through Giga. And 1 million DOT allocated towards that would allow us to scale even at current DOT prices to 80 or 100 million TVL potentially of that one asset, which obviously unlocks a lot of additional use cases, right? So you can hold on to DOT and borrow stable coins, for example, for your day-to-day needs, rather than having to sell those precious DOT at such a bearish price. So that's what we'd like to focus on with those incentives. That's what we're asking for. I won't go into sort of counterpoints. I'll let people ask the questions based on what their immediate concerns are or what they like about it, and we can go from there.
Big. Okay. My quick question. We just have 2.5 minutes here. The second part, the LP, and maybe the third part too. This DOT, once we hand it over, it's no longer owned by the Treasury, or it is owned by the Treasury, and like incentives and whatnot are going to flow back, kind of like those loans previously. Like, is that the case, or what's the case?
So last time with the liquidity incentives that we just held them in the hydration treasury, I'm actually going to propose that this goes into a pure proxy, which the hydration treasury can control, just because I don't really want all of those dot accounting on our protocol owned treasury. So no, those are under because the hydration governance needs to be able to assign these to various tasks, right? And obviously if it was owned by the Polkadot treasury, like for example, like the DCAs, then I don't want the hydration governance overriding origin of the Polkadot treasury. That doesn't.
I more mean like think about the Bifrost loan where those assets eventually come back with the interest that they gained. This is not the situation here. This dot is leaving the treasury, it's going to hydration, and there's no plans to return, right?
Right. This is a spend. Yeah. This is the Polkadot treasury spending on economic stimulation.
Yeah, got it. Tommy.
Awesome. Yeah, I was surprised by the boldness to come with this ask size, and so I think we should take the proposal serious. There is some people that are of the opinion that DeFi is not a game that Polkadot should go too much into, because there is like other things where we can win, and basically other ecosystems have won DeFi. I'm not of that opinion. I think DeFi is still the most validated use case in crypto, and so we should go very heavy and big on this. Hydration has been the hardest working team. There's like everyone is hardworking, but let's say like it's really successful. I would say it's the killer app of Polkadot. I want to vote yes. I'm not yet voting yes. I want to first see one thing, and so the proposal does not give a lot of specifics. And I know it's very hard to make expectations and give numbers, because then they can be attacked. But still, I think for a proposal of that size, there should be more. There should be more flesh and material on like what could be like rough expectations or projections, or like what are you shooting for? What is the direction you want to achieve? Like, what sizes do you expect?
20 seconds.
So I would hope to see this, and then I would be voting aye.
Yeah, so we've had similar feedback from some others as well. Specifically, I left out, because I did actually, the first thing I did when we were thinking of the numbers is obviously map out what does that look like in terms of TVL that could generate, what sort of rewards would you expect based on what we've done in the first campaign, right? Didn't include it in the proposal simply because I didn't want to too much tie our hands to we need to do this, because this space moves very fast and we need to be able to react and respond to things as and when they come without feeling like, oh, but we did say we would incentivize our staff for this amount of time, etc. But I'm quite happy based on the feedback to pull together something and say like this is a representative of what each of those verticals could look like based on these incentivizations, with obviously the caveat that if something's not working, we're not going to waste money on it because we put it in a proposal. We'd rather put those incentives towards use, which is something we feel we've done really well on the initial campaign.
All right, well, we're at time. Thank you for the chat for calling me stupid for thinking this was a loan. Just clarifying, okay? But no, these are all LP rewards, not the provision itself. I get it. Ben, thanks for coming on the show. We're just 3 days since you posted this, so I guess we're going to get some DV action before this time next week. We'd definitely love to have you back and take a look at the state of this ref at that time. Currently 83.6% in favor, but under 500,000 DOT in play right now. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you for this great proposal. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys.
All right, let's move on now to the operating cost for the research and organization of the Polkadot Ecology Institute. This is Ref 1531. Oh, we had you guys on the show last week, and I think we've made an improvement here. Now 51.8% in favor, nearly halfway through the decision period. We have, who do we have on the show to discuss this? Where did you go? Gone? Out? Oh, Bloxu. Hey, there you are. Welcome.
Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Yes, sir. I'll start the timer. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. In the last AAG, we gave a brief introduction to our proposal and some information about our situation. Regarding the specific details of our proposal, you can refer to referendum 5031. After the last AAG, the most common feedback we received was that people didn't know how effective our work was and how to evaluate it. This is actually a very valuable question, and today I'd like to spend a few minutes sharing our thoughts on this issue. As the only institution in the Asia Pacific region that focuses on the research of the Polkadot ecology, we have enabled everyone to truly understand the value of Polkadot and the advanced nature of technologies such as Substrate and Gem through in-depth content presented in an easy-to-understand way. Most of the people who entered the Polkadot ecosystem through our content are real builders and users who are willing to contribute to the Polkadot ecosystem in the long term rather than just speculators trading dot. This is why many developers, project teams, whales, and institutions like our content. So, what has the effects of this? Firstly, for Polkadot holders, over the past few years, we have accumulated nearly 800 very core Polkadot users. They hold at least more than 2 million dots, and many large holders have held their dots for more than 3 years. You can see this from the I votes for our prior proposal. They directly gave us a vote multiplier of 6, and the staking period is more than 200 days. Uh, if they didn't have confidence in Polkadot and our work,
Hmm.
why would they choose to vote for such a long time? Even now, this is still a value of nearly $10 million. Perhaps this is the best feedback of proof of our content creation over the years. This is only under the premise of the current poor market situation. If it were around 2021, the number of dots supporting us might have increased several times. Secondly, from the perspective of the content itself, we have successfully published an article on the official meeting of Polkadot, and we are also the only Asian Pacific research institution that has published content on the Polkadot official medium's publication. In addition, our content has been recognized by professional institutions such as Citel Digital, IOSG, and ArcStream Capital. It has also been recognized by figures in the Polkadot ecosystem like ET, the curator of market bounty, the Polkadot Reddit and Discord moderator, Green Hatter, and the official Spanish account of Polkadot. Moreover, it has received application from some well-known projects in the Polkadot ecosystem, such as Bifrost, Bala Network, Astar, Moonbeam, Subwallet, and Sales Network. I think this is the best feedback on the quality of our content. And thirdly, in terms of data, some time ago we wrote an article about why we should be optimistic about the development of Polkadot in 2025. This article received more than 5,200 views on the WeChat official account, which is several times the average view count of our regular articles. At the same time, the average view count of the official WeChat account of the Sui network was only 700 or 800. So we definitely have the ability to trigger the market's attention to Polkadot and boost everyone's confidence when Polkadot is developing well, and accelerate the participation of more users in the Polkadot ecosystem. In terms of the importance, I hope everyone can understand that the Chinese-speaking region is of great significance to any cryptocurrency project. Currently, the Asian region is a key development area for major public blockchains and well-known exchanges because this region will provide them with top-notch development and users and the liquidity, making it a market they must compete for. After all, according to the spot exchange rankings on CoinMarketCap, 7 out of the top 10 exchanges have a background from the Chinese-speaking region. This shows the importance in terms of real money. The above is our answer to this question. I wonder if any of you have any other new questions.
Thank you, Zom. Does anybody have any questions here? We have just a minute or 2 minutes left. That was interesting to see the support you do have on the I side there. Some voters we don't usually recognize. So these are people from your corner, obviously very much believe in everything you've been doing. Nice to see. Anybody?
Mm,
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we're good here. Is there anything else you wanted to say, sir?
let me just add one final point.
Yes, please.
Okay. Finally, I'd like to say while we have spent most of the past 6 years contributing to the development of the Asian Pacific market, we actually only started to focus on the overseas market and building our influence overseas last year, which has led to overseas users having limited knowledge about us. That's why most of the nay votes come from the overseas market. In the coming years, we will also devote more efforts to building the overseas market. However, in terms of the Chinese-speaking market, there are so many people supporting us. I hope you can consider this from the perspective of the Chinese market and think about why they are so willing to support us. I firmly believe that all global Polkadot users should share the same goal, which is to build a better Polkadot. Therefore, I hope you can also support us and the Chinese-speaking market. We need to unite. We are not rivals. We should be like a family. I hope you will vote in favor of us. Thank you for your time.
Very well put. Now, all these impact points you just shared with us, is there a place where they're all written down and perhaps we could review them in written form? I wouldn't mind checking that out.
I haven't written it down in somewhere. I just prepared to answer these questions myself.
Okay. Well, that might be good to see. But anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we'll check out how this ref is doing next week.
Thank you.
Okay, we have to do a little change of plans here real quick because people are blowing up my DMs saying the Phase and Vitality Project, they need to go and talk with Permanence DAO at the half hour. So we only have 9 minutes before they go before those judges. We'll have them here on AAG real quick. First, I'm going to start the timer here. Don Diego, welcome back to the show. Where are we going this week?
Yeah, thanks, Jay, and sorry for that. We didn't plan on the core time discussion, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
This week we wanted to present you what the team has worked on for Polkadot. We do have an overwhelming wall of nay in front of us, but the both team really put some effort into designing something tailor-made for us. And we'd like the community to hear an overview from both of them. So, Guillaume, if you want to start, you have the floor for 4 minutes, and then we'll give the floor to FaZe. Thanks.
Sure. Let's do it. Thanks for having us, guys. Do you all see my screen? We're good?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Perfect. So just before starting, I don't know if you had the luck to witness an historical moment for us the past Sunday, but we just won the Grand Slam on Counter-Strike.
Congrats.
So it was a massive achievement on our side. And as you can see, it's providing a lot of views and engagement. So definitely, I mean, being partnering with Team Vitality would benefit to Polkadot in order to witness this kind of success and to share also what is coming next. Then on the next slides, I will go quite quickly because I believe you are starting to be familiar with our ecosystem and who Team Vitality is. But if you need to remind something, I mean, we are the leading European team. We have like over like 13 teams. We have a huge and engaged audience across like several territories. It's true. We also have like a lot of reach in North of America, also in Asia. And 2025 is a great milestone for us. So as you can see, Counter-Strike is leading the way, but there are a lot of great challenges ahead, and we'll be glad to have Polkadot on our side to achieve that. Speaking about our audience, as you may know, we have been the first to launch like a Web3 engagement app. So our fans are quite used to crypto compared to the usual market in the space. And definitely we can, like build the great stories with them and onboard them with Polkadot. So one of our main pillar has been Hive, which has been the first super entry app on the market and driving a lot of audiences. So we would like to write the next chapter with Polkadot, and so it's why we will spend more time on our core proposal, which is built on 4 pillars. So the first one is related to a strong visibility and reach. So on this way, I mean, we are really willing to create brand awareness and support user acquisition funnel. All the impressions on digital that you can see and the media value will be able to showcase Polkadot. And then it's also a way to leverage the community of Polkadot. It's great, IAG to meet on a digital, but IRL events are even better. So we would like to propose our locations in Europe and in Asia to gather all the community. We can do like some pop-ups, some meetups, some side events across the US, Europe, China, Indonesia as well. So definitely, I mean, it can create great synergy for all the people from the ecosystem and not only in Europe. And above all, I mean, it's a technical proposal because we would migrate our Polkadot app to your technology, but also it will be a proof and a test for the hub that you are about to launch in Q3. So we are definitely keen, to bring our app to Polkadot, and we are going to work hand in hand with some suppliers from your ecosystem, such as Elevate Core, Airlift, Bri, Nerium, and some other, in order to build something which is best in class on the market, and that also you can reuse on esports or any kind of entertainment activity field for companies which would be willing to launch some engagement app. And then the 4th pillar will be all the newbies that we can bring to the table related to so having some introduction to the major esport leagues and main publishers. And also on our side, we have some partners. We are willing to discover blockchain. And so we already identify some leads and so on their side. So we would be keen, to do the go-between and to trigger some business relationship on this one. So yeah, that was mainly that.
That was kind of the exercise to do that in 4 minutes. The floor is yours, Eric.
3 minutes remaining.
Oh, you're muted, Eric. You're muted.
Welcome back, Eric.
There we go. What's going on? Yeah, more text problems on my side. Hey, for everybody that doesn't remember me, my name is Eric. I run esports for FaZe Clan, specifically the esports division of one of the most iconic brands in the space. And honestly, we're excited to be here. We're excited to work with you guys. We're excited to work with Vitality. And while we do want to kick their ass in the games that we're playing in, we respect it when they're beating us in the server, which right now in CS, they're kicking our ass. So it is what it is. But also shout out to Heroic. We love the guys over there as well. So most of the space probably knows us, or if you know us, you probably know us from CS. I do want to highlight a couple other things though, in the sense that we're the current world champions for Rainbow Six, and we've won 3 out of the 4 majors for Call of Duty. And so, there was some comments that were a bit of hating on us in terms of our size and reach. And if you don't know Call of Duty, fair enough, you don't. But if you don't know Call of Duty, you're like, one of a billion people or 500 million people under a rock because everybody else knows Call of Duty. So all this to say, by every observable metric, we're the biggest brand in North America, which is why we're super complimentary with Vitality. Again, huge respect from over there, unless we want to kick their butt on the server. And so, we're so big, generally speaking, that we're constantly in discussion. So we're constantly getting clickbaited on articles. And so there's a lot of articles there that are negative, but please go look for all the positive ones too. And I want to highlight this thing. We don't stand and hide behind anything else. Google us. Please look at everything in its entirety. Look us up on Giphy. Look us up on Twitter or X. Look us up on Instagram. You're going to find a lot of impressions, a lot of hashtags, a lot of things used by our fans because they love us so much. And it's amazing. And I will say, because he didn't shout it out enough, is Vitality has a hardcore, crazy, fan club fan base, and I love them. And they're nuts when they show up at events. So I just want to shout those guys out. But so we get a lot of haters on these things, but I want to highlight something about the brand is that nobody else in esports has been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Please Google that. Nobody else has done a jersey collab and a mousepad collab with Murakami. Again, please Google that. And then no one else has made a shoe with LeBron James and Nike, but I would assume you know that, but please go Google that. And also LeBron's kid, Bronny, before he made it to the NBA, was on that cover of Sports Illustrated. So I just want to highlight a couple of these things. I think it's a relevant point to just highlight. I got to rush through this really fast though. So one of the other highlights things I want to talk about is that as also complimentary to Vitality, we've got an office in Frisco. And if you're familiar with Frisco, it's considered Sports City USA. It's trying to do everything. It's bringing everybody in, PGA. It's trying to throw a lot of different events. And part of the reason is we're in an office space across from one of our owners, which is Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys. So we're pretty big players in Texas. And we definitely want anybody to come through. We want to do a lot of things for Polkadot there and invite people in the community, again, similar to Vitality in Europe. So I think it's really good. I know I'm running out of time right here, so I think I'll just kind of skip through some of these things. But, one of the conversations that we've been kind of having is gamers and Web3 and the crossover that's there. Every publisher wants FaZe Clan and wants Vitality in their game ecosystems, all the international tournaments, everything that's happening. And so when you come along with our gamers, we want to communicate to our community everything that's going on in the Polkadot ecosystem. We want to work with you guys to find the right projects that are going to get stickiness with them because, and you can go Google this as well, everybody's found out that esports consumers versus casual consumers in gaming are just stickier. And so when they love something, they're really going to fall in love with it. And just like our fans are in love with us. So again, I'm generally, I think, at time now. And last time I went over it, I appreciate you guys for letting me, but I want to pause there in case there's any questions or anything like that.
Great. Well, we're actually out of time here, but we did have one question in the chat there. This one's probably for you, Don Diego. Now, it looks like this 1.51 million DOT, if it's successful, is going to go to Lenexus. People in the chat are pointing out that, at current prices, this is over 320,000 extra DOT in assets. The question just is, will you be returning the excess back to the treasury?
Yeah, obviously. Lenexus is supposed to act as a legal wrapper for it
Yeah.
and to be the enforcement arm of the Polkadot esports committee.
Mhm.
And obviously we'll give back all the dots. Right now, I think it would be only 1.2 million dots, something like that, with the new price of dots.
Yeah.
So we launched an ATL, and we're sorry for that, but we will adapt to the situation, the price of that.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you very much, guys, for the presentation. Good luck in front of Permanence DAO. I hear they're pretty tough.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Mr. Alexander Mitrovic, thank you very much for your patience today, because we are now to the part of the show where we're going to talk about discussions. You have a post on the forum, NFT Mosaic MVP grants, building consumer NFT dApps with real users on Polkadot. This looks like a grant program you want to get started here. I want to give you 8 minutes on the clock here and open the floor to you to tell us anything you want.
Yeah, it's me and Charo, actually.
And Charo, welcome.
So
hi everyone, thanks.
Hi everyone. A lot of people here know me, but forget for a moment that you know me. I'm not today the founder of Unique. I'm a kind of chairperson of NFT Mosaic, which is recently formed association alliance of NFT kind of players in the Polkadot ecosystem. And when we say Polkadot there, the key target is Polkadot Hub to begin with, and then rollups are kind of help there. So I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of people think they know me, and this is for Polkadot. So what we want to do is we initiated a discussion, and we'd like some feedback from the public on an initiative we have that we know will work well for the value of whole Polkadot. We've in the last 4 or 5 months, we have heavily researched, analyzed, collected data, analyzed it, and fixed things so that actually on Asset Hub today, you can spin out applications very easily. Okay, it's no longer, we don't need any more infrastructure there. We cleaned it up, we consolidated what's available. We don't need any more infrastructure on Asset Hub. We will need stuff for PVM. We're working on that. But for a substrate side, it's ready to host, projects. But right now we have very few. Okay, there's single digits. I don't want to even say the number. So the idea that we have is something we did at Unique, and this is why we know it's going to work, is to create a bounty grant program for about 20 projects over the course of the year to launch MVPs on Polkadot with using NFTs in different ways. This is not for collectibles, okay? This is not for JPEGs. This is not for trading. There will be some that will trade NFTs, yes, but the main focus is actual real utility. There are so many things happening where people are using NFTs in very different ways. In AI, in real-world assets representation, and gazillion different things, and we are mostly focused on that market. If people want to just drop a collection of NFTs, that's past century. We're not going to compete in that. We are, or those programs need to be separate. Okay, we need to, that's a completely separate picture. This is for innovation, which Polkadot is great at. We've done benchmarking. The Asset Hub is, for example, is faster than any other chain out there. Well, except for Unique, but okay, never mind that. We're working with PVM team to get them to be also much faster than EVM chains. It's not yet. So the scalability of Polkadot comes into play with NFTs very, very well. So the idea, in short, is to get up to 20 projects, give them grants up to 25K, but they have to launch MVP, a real application, and they have to create a marketing program where they get actual users. We will help them define how to create that campaign. We'll support them along the way. But the idea here is that that each of these will become a case study for Polkadot. Okay, it will become a case study for when bigger projects come in. We can prove that things work and you can do things, and it will start kind of creating communities on a smaller scale. Again, we have done all of this with Unique, and it works very well on a small scale. On Polkadot scale, it's going to work much, much better. So that's the overall idea. Charu, add things if you like. None of this is going to us. We're paid by Web3 Foundation, and there's all of the money goes to grants to the recipients.
Just one quick addition there, that the gap we saw in the ecosystem. I mean, there are various grant programs, but most of the grant programs focus on code, on initial build phase, and we are trying to do that, plus launch an MVP and launch a consumer onboarding or user onboarding campaign, and the grant milestones will be tied to that. So unless they actually deliver on user onboarding, they will not receive the amount. So it's part of the program.
So open to questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments, praise or concern? Okay, so this is a, yeah, go ahead, Tommy. Lorena. Sorry, I thought you had a pregnant thought.
Yes? No, Tommy was first.
No, I just misread him.
Okay, one question maybe I lost, but why don't you have you sing in talk with the marketing bounty directly instead of go to OpenGov to do this kind of action?
We will come to marketing bounty for the pieces that are related to marketing to help out with, with making that effective. But this is the, we could, I didn't know, if that's the appropriate one. I consulted with Alex Web3 Foundation and BD groups. They like the idea. They love the idea. Actually, Alex thinks it's too small, but that's the whole idea. To start small and to actually get some of those projects that think they're big and that want a lot of money to tell them, okay, here, prove that you can do something, and then you can go for a bigger ticket item and so on. And because of that, it needs to be kind of public. And another reason why it needs to be public is to raise the awareness, to raise to get the ecosystem running. There are a number of kind of projects doing cool stuff in the ecosystem, and we need to kind of stick together and eat our own food and so on. So for that reason, this format, it sounds better.
So we just have 30 seconds left. I just wanted to clarify. So this is a $500,000 grant program. There's a little bit extra if you need help with implementations. He says dev relations and marketing, actually. But I just want to get a kind of a bigger picture of the whole structure here. So you are supported by the Decentralized Futures program through the Web3 Foundation.
Yep.
But then also about a year ago, there was like was it like $1 million grant, like a research grant
That was
from the Polkadot Treasury?
That was for the unique team that was doing NFT XCM, and that's launching now in a big way. That was waiting for fellowship. Fellowship takes forever to approve PRs.
Oh, okay.
But
So news on that, which was actually to the unique team, which is separate than the Mosaic team, but news on that would be coming soon.
Oh, they are going out soon. They have gone out slowly, drip by drip. But the biggest news is that it is finally approved by fellowship, so it goes into production, which is the biggest hurdle.
Cool.
The stuff was developed 6 months ago. There is and there is a bunch of stuff actually going on.
Nice. We're at time, but Charo, you want to add some color to that?
Yeah. Just to that, as of today, you'll see 2 demo videos go live. So we also created a UI for the test environment where you could transfer NFTs between Asset Hub and Unique Network right now without code. I mean, anyone can do it, really. So that's kind of we're starting those tests there. That should be on our Twitter today. And we will open that up for the community as well to have some fun and share ideas soon. So a campaign is also coming on that.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for coming on. Any idea when this is going to hit the chain? Next week?
May 11 is my target date, maybe sooner.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. We'll check in next week. Thanks very much, guys.
Okay, thank you.
All right, this concludes presentations for this week, but we do have some refs on the go we might want to take a look at. I also want to open it up to the panel for anything you guys want to discuss. But while you decide, let's just take a look at some refs we've been looking at. One big turnaround here for the Incognity project, using TEEs to have shielded transfers on Polkadot. Super useful, although struggled to get support. What changed? Well, KuSTAO changed. Actually, KuSTAO has marched, I believe, from a hard nay in the beginning, then to an abstain, and now in an extra vote after the second vote, they've flipped to I, bringing this proposal to 52% in favor. It's going to be dangerous territory. This is going to start confirming actually within the next 40 minutes, but that will put it into, oh, you know what? it's not going to be in sudden death. It's actually just going to be within the decision period for now. But as long as nobody comes along and nays this, we're going to have funding for a team that has, to be honest, the most workable privacy solution in the ecosystem right now. So that's pretty exciting for that team. Also, the 6-month extension for the Poke Berlin team. I said last week that they were going to be on the show this week. Not the case. They're actually just going to push it back till next week now. But looking at the tally after a lot of the DV votes come in, 65.1% in favor. So we have, let's see who we have on both sides here. The Kustot delegate on the I side, along with Red DAO. Poke World balancing on the nay side. Lenexus, former DV, also on the nay side. Abstaining right now. Chaos DAO's abstaining. Anybody else? No. Okay, looks like we have some more DVs that need to come in as well. So that's the situation over there. Anybody on the panel have something they want to discuss? We have had a lot of new refs come in the last few days. Got a big one from Kagome. A C++ implementation of Polkadot here. We've been paying these guys for a few years. This is for, okay, just shy of $1 million USDC and almost no votes in play right now. This just went up. But I have a feeling that this is going to be warranting some serious discussion. I've already seen some people asking, how long do we keep paying the implementers until, you know, the jam prize just takes over? Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, so for me, I wonder about the back history of how this started. Was this like an initiative or were projects pushed to basically create those clients? Because I think it was always an ambition to have a diverse set of hosts, which made sense in the original context. But I don't know how many, like, is there validators running Kagome, or how many validators is running Kagome? Maybe I should look up the proposal. But I just never hear people talk about it, and I don't think it makes sense in the long run. Or at least I'm not yet convinced. Nobody could yet explain it to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, great team and great partner of Polkadot, but we are in that weird phase right now where we're wondering how much longer we pay for this.
Yeah, especially for Jam, you need diverse implementations, but like all the parachains and everything, and at Polkadot runtime, it's going to run in it's compiled, so I'm not sure if like you would even need it for the collators in a way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, friend of the show, Batman. Wait, I think I have the wrong one here. Let's see.
No, he's removed both.
Hey, why did he do that?
I think he got advised to remove both.
Okay. All right. So 138,000 USDT definitely staying in the treasury now that the pre-image has been removed. And remember, Limo, your good advice last week, always vote nay when you see pre-image removed, because I guess you can throw it back, eh? Go ahead.
Also, if you're going to do a ref, this isn't like specifically for Batman. Any ref, like there are people that will read your ref and tell you if like it's off base or needs modifying a little bit. Like past stuff around before, right? There's a lot of people on the show, like I'm looking at like Jay and Tommy, for example.
Yeah.
Just pass it to guys like us and we'll tell you if it's like off base or needs changing a little bit.
We'll give you advice, and then if you ignore it, go ahead. You know, that happens a lot too. But yeah, definitely, I'm always willing to check out a proposal and offer some direction. Rolling, so we've had a lot of Chinese proposals recently, which is fantastic. Recurring partner here, AI Web3 Chinese by Dr. Cao. 185.24 thousand USDT. This has gone up. This is very, very recent, less than 2 days old. So we'll have to check on this next week, but maybe we'll hear from him soon. Oh, no, we haven't really discussed Supreme. I'm going to pull that up in a second too, but I did want to point out a few returning refs, teams that failed but have come back with an updated ref. Polkabiz is back. This is just for retroactive funding, just for the work they've already done, not for anything forward-looking. 82,667 USDT. Not a lot of votes, but early votes are saying about a third in favor. So we'll have to check on that next week when we have a little bit more data. And this old one, Polkadot Storage Phase 3, 1.9 million USDT for a Filecoin-esque implementation on Polkadot. We paid for the first 2 phases, rejected phase 3. The team has gone ahead and built 90% of it out anyway, looking for funding again, looking for support in the new DV environment. This is only 3 days old, so again, not a lot of data to go by, but this is another project we're definitely going to be keeping our eyes on. Yes, Limo.
It's one of those times where I don't know if I dreamt this or read it.
Yeah.
It's like a comment or something, and it mentions a phase 4. Because like I need to like fully read the proposal. I haven't read it yet. But like, what is phase 4? Like, how much is phase 4 as well, right? Because I'm like always, we've spoke about this on the show like to death. You know, people come with a milestone 1 or a phase 1 without saying what phase 2, 3, 4, up to 9 million costs. Like, is phase 4, like, does it say what that is? Like, how much it's for, what the scope of it is? Again, I haven't like read the full proposal yet, but I'm fairly confident that this is seen as deemed necessary by certain people in the eco, is what I've heard.
There's a certain person named Pierre Aubert from the Parity Foundation and Parity, and he's saying here, we are supporting funding this proposal phase 3 and will support phase 4. Phase 4 is the first milestones that we propose a product more than a prototype and start to go into the fundamental question for storage. Decentralized properties, but also pricing, gigabyte per month. I've heard a little bit about this, kind of looking at some more real world implementations of storage. Obviously, I mean, maybe we could look to Google, where Pierre used to work. They have a lot of storage projects, and maybe there's some productization that they're looking to do here with that. Good question on the funding there, Limo.
If like, this is just daft question. Okay. Don't fucking at me on Twitter. Where it's like we plan to do it step by step from Parity's engineering manager, is Parity funding a bit of this, or should they fund a bit of it?
It's a good question, and I think a potent question on a lot of people's minds recently. Now, Parity's funded from the Web3 Foundation, remember, but Web3 Foundation coffers are definitely a resource for the ecosystem. I often hear we're going to kick it to the treasury for the sake of decentralization.
Yeah.
Now, is this the sort of redundant decentralization we absolutely need to keep the Polkadot network going? Is this a reason to not spend the Web3 Foundation coffers? I'm not sure. But I think a balanced partnership between both large treasuries can be maybe spoken about a little bit more, especially as the Polkadot
I'm not
treasury.
But then, right, I just think it's good. Like, I think it's maybe if like those parties think this is like mandatory and are building stuff with this, maybe they can put in towards it. Maybe like I don't know how their systems work, but it seems like a reasonable approach to me.
Yeah, that seems like a nice thing between the biggest dot holder in the ecosystem, I'm just guessing Web3 Foundation, and the rest of the dot holders. Could be a more balanced funding approach there. Tommy?
You might remember, I think for the last time the proposal came in, and then we asked, so who is supporting it? And the guy was in the call and he is, someone wants to have it, or someone.
This is an improvement, actually. This is an improvement.
Very mysterious, right? And now we have the confirmation from Pierre. And I believe I'm connecting the dots correctly, but at the last PBA, when Gavin was speaking, he actually was saying he's very fond of a certain proposal for a storage project, something like this. And I don't know, it's the only thing that I'm seeing. And in the context of the conversation we had during his Gem presentation, it also made sense. So it's basically saying there is the data lake, but that's sort of ephemeral. It's going away. And then it's like the RAM in your computer, right? And then you also need additional storage that you want to use. And so because Gavin is always thinking about a computer, I think this is the perspective they have here. And I think we see this trend that the Web3 Foundation is nudging more projects to go to the treasury.
Yeah, but at least there's some support now. Before, projects used to just get wrecked because it was like, trust me, bro. Hey, but remember, there was another storage project that was recently funded that Pierre came in to support. That was the Min.io project by the Accuras team. So that was another storage solution. This one with using their phone network that they're running compute on. Ben, let's hear from you, sir.
Perhaps if this is the sort of super important technical implementation that we really need, and maybe us plebs don't really understand. Perhaps this will be a useful use for those fellowship treasury funds, like super technical thing, much needed, essential for the protocol. We don't understand that. We hate it. Nay, maybe they like it. I'm trying to pull it up, but it's not coming up. It's got a silly hash instead of a number. Was it not 5 million dot went there or something like?
Yeah, the fellowship right now,
Million.
we can look it up. The fellowship right now has 1.93 million USDT and 1.95 million dot. That is a lot of firepower. Another pot of money that's no longer under control of the general dot holding population, but it was set aside for something.
What's the something?
Important questions. Hey, Tommy, you wanted to bring up this Supreme thing. Why did you want to bring this up? Because right now, this is actually struggling. 210,000. Oh my God, 210,000 dot. Big spender by Creel. Fully decentralized Web3 acceleration platform where every promise is put on chain. From idea, description to fundraising, treasury management, roadmap, everything is managed on chain, 100% transparent and verifiable. Okay. Why did you want to bring this up, Tommy? Did he leave? Okay, thank you, Tommy. Hey, another thing, Limo, you put up the spamming reward for Amfork, the 45,000 USDT. Looks like this has come around now. 81% in favor of this. 26.26 million dot on the I side. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, there's still bits to go, right? I think some DBs haven't voted. And again, it's the people generally seem like Amfox should get rewarded for this.
Sure.
Generally, like, you know. So if this does end up being there, or you are nay on it, please give like a value that you think they should get. All of this is public. I've linked like the subscan links and all this kind of stuff of what they've done. List of all the tasks that they carried out. I've said on AAG like something like 200 plus hours. Yeah, so if you nail it, please tell me what you think it should be worth. I believe it's good to tip people that do really sick stuff like this. Spamming is basically used constantly on marketing. It was their idea. They like spearheaded it. They actually had to fight a lot of people that didn't want to do it, including people at Parity, which took a lot of effort. So yeah, I think they deserve some money. Maybe 45K is too much. I have no idea. So yeah, if you may, just tell me what you think it should be, and I will keep posting this until they get some money.
Sweet. Tommy, triggering my abandonment issues. You wanted to talk about Supreme. This is why you want to talk about this? Because the reason I'm asking is full dot proposal, not a lot of support, no decision deposit. What interests you here?
No, I just saw the headline and it says accelerator. So like I'm on the lookout at the moment for infrastructure, like ecosystem infrastructure that helps us like push projects forward and sort of create the pipeline. I haven't looked into it, and I was wondering, did I miss it because it's already 2 weeks on voting, but they haven't presented yet, right?
They haven't presented. To be honest, I don't think these are ecosystem natives. Looks like they've done this before for other chains. So Aragon DAO, they've done it. If I'm reading this correctly, I'm sorry. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was reading Kirill, and I was thinking maybe it's the Kirill that is in the Polkadot ecosystem, but it's a different one.
Kirill Ivanov, here he is on LinkedIn. Doesn't look like somebody I recognize.
I think he means Kirill Perimov, the ex-Parity guy, the ultimate just carry different people.
All good. Yeah. Anything else we'd like to discuss? What an interesting show. All good. Very good. So we have a big few weeks coming up on the Coos. We're rolling over to Lugano in Switzerland to cover the Scytale Lugano event, real suit and tie sort of event over there, and it should be pretty cool. Look out for a lot of content coming out on the Scytale channels for that. That's going to be next week, but not before our Space Monkey Sunday this weekend. which is with Luca from the Polymech project. Kind of an interesting episode because I kind of forget to ask him about Polymech until we're 20 minutes in because we just start discussing general Web3 concepts. It's really fun. I think you'll really like it. But they have big stuff coming down the pipe for Polymech. Not just building infrastructure, but actually some big banks and big institutions that are going to be using it to offer opportunities to their clients. It's pretty cool, and it's a nice podcast that I hope you all check out. Polkadot Friday news pump tomorrow as well. Make sure you catch that. And don't forget, we have AAG in Spanish, en español, on El Cus. That's going to be tomorrow at 5 p.m. UTC. Make sure you check it out, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. It'd be great to hear what you guys all have to say when the English people aren't listening. Vamos. Hey, we'll see you all very soon. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here and being part of the discussion. Have a great weekend.